Hi there and welcome to the channel. I'm Slate and today I have a very special guest. Say a big hello to Goha Po. Bem-vindo e obrigada por estar aqui.
Nice Portuguese, Slate. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad to be here on Slate channel. First thing I want to say is that I'm an OG Slate viewer because I got recommended the bomb video back in the
Yes!
day. I got recommended like when the video launched. I think it had a small amount of views. It got recommended for me, and I had the opportunity to meet your channel for the first time.
Yeah, we've sort of connected for a very long time and I'm just so excited to have you here because for those of you who might recognize the name for two reasons. One, Goha has his own YouTube channel, he does it in Portuguese, and then more importantly, in Immortal Codex, you are looking and I am speaking to like the number one in pretty much everything. Like, it's amazing how good you are at Immortal Codex, basically. So yeah, we're gonna have a chat about Immortal Codex, and it's gonna be great.
It's my favorite content to play, so I put a lot of time on that content.
Yeah. So the first question I'm just gonna run this in the background. So the first question I have is, why do you like Codex so much? What is it about this content compared to others that makes it your favorite content?
So I really like Codex because I kind of like the boss content where you grind for points. So there's a lot of min-max involved in the fight, and a lot of very small optimizations you don't see. I don't think a lot of people know about this. You see the Codex fight, you think it's very simple, it's very to the point, but it's not that simple. There's a lot of things that goes when you're trying to get really high scores. Of course, you need the heroes, the units, but there's a lot of very small twerks you need to do to get like the rank 1 or very high rankings in the leaderboard. So I really like this part of the fight. So it's my favorite content in the Watchers of Realms alongside GVG.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, you're in MAD, so you're in the top GVG team as well. So I think it must probably help doing both, right?
Yes, and people really like Codex there as well.
Yeah.
So they focus more on GVG in the PvP side of the game,
Mm.
but there's a lot of mad players that really like Codex as well. Many of the players are top rankings on many Codex as well.
Well, Codex is sort of PvP in the fact that with the leaderboard and stuff, you are fighting against other people to, in terms of your scores and stuff. So even though it is you versus the content, you're actually being judged against how well you beat it compared to someone else, which isn't the same in like gear raids or AMR or things like that. So
Exactly,
yeah.
and you get rewarded as well. So, like Guild Boss, there's a rank, but you don't get a rank reward for Guild Boss 1 and 2. So
Right?
for Codex, you have the ranking rewards. They're not amazing, right? But
No.
they exist.
Yeah, I mean you get basically 1.5 ancient shards for your hard work.
For like hours and hours.
Right? And
But it's something.
it's something. You're definitely not doing it for the rewards. Let's put it that way. But at least it is something. And I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily know. So for the first time ever, I've made it to the top 100 in a leaderboard for Codex. And interestingly enough, what you'll notice, because I was like, I was at 37 and then it sort of come down to 45. But if you look at the screen, like the point levels are pretty much the same score, because when you're sort of getting it's not. They seem to be very difficult to move up that next little bracket. So like, I mean, we've got loads here at 50500, and then it'll go up to 60500, and then obviously like to push it all the way, you're a good almost like 10,000 above the next person, and Yeah, it must be really hard to like, because it's basically one minion more than
Yes,
someone
it's
else,
exactly one
right?
million. Yes. Yeah, that only happens in this tank codex, also known as the brain rot codex, because the the amount of time you need to put in that codex to get that 1 million is insane. But
Right?
that codex is really hard. It's actually easy to get the triple S, the high scores, but the fight to get the high scores are insanely hard, very RNG dependent, in my opinion.
Yeah. So,
The tank
yeah.
codex.
So then that leads me on to my next one. What is your favorite to least favorite codex boss? Like, you know, are there ones that you're like,
Okay.
oh my god, I love doing this, and like other ones you're like,
Yes.
I don't like this one.
Yes, there is my favorite by far is Styx, which I'm lucky because I won the last 2 Styx as well.
Yep.
But I didn't have the best thing for Styx, but when Yovar came out, I could capitalize on getting Yovar in winning the Styx Codex. But he was Styx was my favorite since forever. Even when I wasn't winning, so I really like Styx because there's basically no RNG involved in the fight, and it's pure execution in my opinion.
Yes.
It's insanely precise execution.
Yeah, because I mean, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Styx, it's not this rotation, but it's the one where the boss gets his shield, and you have to do X amount of hits to break the shield, and if you don't break the shield in that amount of hits, you die. Basically, that's it. Game over. And I remember when it first came out, it was actually too difficult to break the shield. So,
Yes.
because the numbers they were asking for were just absolutely insane.
Yes, it was overtuned.
And so people use Sadie to survive the sort of post-shield knockdown. But yeah, like, was that you who came up with the Sadie strat originally, or how did you do that originally when it wasn't a knockdown?
Yeah, I think that back there I actually had a very high score as well. I think top 10. I don't remember exactly because it was really back there.
Yeah.
But I used King Hearts A1 for King Hearts. It gave shield. You could use King Hearts in the place of Sadie. And I think he's kind of better for his area that he protects with the big shield from A1. So I really liked King Hearts back in the day, and I think I had a pretty good score at Styx at the time. But I think it's way better after the rework, Styx rework, and I really like the fight more at the moment.
So yeah,
So
he does a shield to protect all surrounding allies within one tile, which is it's one of those hidden
which is
gems,
huge.
right?
His shield is his shield is huge. I mean, it's like full HP shield. You can tank anything with that.
Yeah, which I think is one of those things that a lot of people don't necessarily look at the awakenings to see how much a hero changes. I think that's one of the things I love about the hero system in this game is the awakenings and how different heroes become as they're awakened. It's not just like, oh, you get better stats. You know, this is a whole different ability that gets unlocked.
Yes, I really enjoy A1 Hearts. It's always helped me in a lot of content. I really like using him.
Yeah,
he's kind of, people don't like him a lot, right? Pulling him, but I actually enjoy him. When I need to protect someone, like the nearest tiles, I really like Hearts for that effect, I would say.
That's good. So if Styx is your favorite, what is your least favorite Codex boss?
My least favorite it is Arbiter of Frost. I really hate Arbiter of Frost.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so annoying. Arbiter of Frost. I never played a lot. I think my least played codex are Arbiter and Conqueror.
Yep.
And I really like Arbiter because there's a lot of RNG involved in the Arbiter fight, a lot.
Yeah.
And the best, or like the second or the best unit for that fight is Anai, and she has auto ultimate, which is insanely annoying to play around it.
Yeah, because you can't.
So
the only thing you can do is rage build her. Like, you know, the only way you can sort of control her ultimate is to control how much rage she builds. But even still, that's not really easy to do or very well timed, basically, is it? So
yeah, because the fight's not linear, I would say, the fight, so it's hard to time it. You can also use Soul Cadence or Twin Field to delay her ultimate a little bit, because when she's about to ult, you ult with Soul Cadence, and she won't ult until Soul Cadence finish. So you can kind of control a little bit.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't have Soul Cadence, but I do have an eye, and I just refuse to awaken her because the only content I would use her in is Codex, and I just was like, I'd rather get, like, I sold I think 2 copies of her to get an A4 Valk. I was like, worth it, absolutely worth it. But I know that's slightly controversial.
Yes, and I is only good for that content. So
right?
It's a fair idea.
Yeah. Okay, so we touched on it a little bit, but what are some general like tips and tricks that you've got for how to like approach the different codex bosses and stuff like that?
Okay, so I think 2 general tips. I think they're very solid. One is as you progress, your account gets stronger in the game. Your focus on the codex should be lasting for the entire fight. Okay, I think Conqueror is the hardest to last until the end of the timer. But older codex, you can probably go to when the timer reaches 0, you lose.
Yeah.
So I think one very good tip is going to the boss rush really fast. That's goes for every single codex. That helps a lot. Okay, so when you start the fight, you have the start of the fight. You get some easy mode fight, right? Yeah. Then you kill the boss for the first time. You go to the boss rush. The timer continues from that point. So if you go very fast to the boss rush, you get more time to score points.
Yes, because you don't get any
I
points.
use that a lot in every single codex.
Yeah, because you don't actually get any points for that initial health bar. It's only when this, like you said, this boss rush stage actually starts that you start to get the points and everything. And here's a tip that I got told, but tell me if this is accurate, is that the sort of very first early waves, try not to use your ultimates for. Save them for when things start to, overrun or get a little bit tricky because of how fast the waves are. Would you agree with that?
I think it depends of the fight. I think that can work for Conqueror, but for most time, I don't think it's a good tip. But for Conqueror, I think for this one specifically you're showing, I think it works. But most of the times, like Torrent, like Furious Torrent, for example, I try to burst the boss down really fast to go to boss rush. There's a lot of implications for the late part of the fight. Like, I know the timer from my head. I want to go to the boss rush on 520. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool.
Let's see. I already went to boss rush on 520.
Yeah, I'm way behind at this point. Yeah. I'm just literally autoing. I just made sure.
I'm not judging. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm not judging.
I literally just was like, I've got to have something for the background, so I'll just quickly gear things and do auto fight, and it'll be fine. But yeah, okay. So then that leads on to like, well, what are the mistakes that people make? So clearly, I'm making the mistake of not getting that boss rush, trying to get to the boss rush immediately or as quickly as possible. But what other mistakes do you think people make?
I think for this specific one that I'm watching, some people, I remember when Furious Torrent got released, I saw some people saying, "Oh, this is the auto ultimate codex."
Yeah.
So people would just auto ultimate, and I think auto ultimate can actually work at some points. The early part of the fight, I don't think it matters a lot, but later on, or maybe some fights at the very beginning, you need to plan every single ultimate. If you want to min-max, of course, right? If you're trying to reach the highest score possible, every single time you play an ultimate makes a lot of like it's very important for the entire fights. Like if you want to like go for the max points possible, that's insanely important.
Yeah, definitely. So, and this is the first time this Furious Torrent is the first time I have what I would call the meta team. So, like, I actually have the heroes that I see on the leaderboard.
Yes, that's exactly the thing I'm using. Right? That's awesome, that thing.
But then that, you know, so that leads on the question of, like, well, how important are heroes versus gear, or, like, heroes in general? Obviously, like, for the very top. But one of the things that I noticed, so, for example, with this, you know, a 3 Nyx is very different to, like, you know, even a 2 Nyx.
The Rage region.
Right, or having her exclusive really artifact and stuff like that. So, like, what would you say is like the importance of how big a difference when you are getting to that like min-maxing those top levels are, you know, things like not just having that meta team, but those awakenings, that gear, those artifacts, etc.
Yes. So, one fun stuff before that. Click on the damage chart from your run, auto run.
But on my sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You can go to the rankings.
Ranking.
I want to show something very funny, and we'll talk about it. Can use mine, for example. Click on the damage.
Yeah, it's all next.
Yes, but something very tricky, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, is that Pelagius is actually insane for this fight.
Yeah.
Because his damage is very low, but like 90% of his damage is to the boss. So Nyx is farming damage on the minions like crazy, but Pelagius' damage is so good. It's like he does barely no damage to the minions because of its magic damage, but his true damage to the boss is so high you won't believe it. It's so good.
I mean, I've noticed that on the bar, the Radiant Erosion debuff pops up, but obviously you can't see that when you're in the boss rush phase. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense, actually. But yeah, I mean...
He's also actually bugged. I think it's a bug.
Oh.
When you apply Radiant Erosion into the boss, sometimes it does no damage, and sometimes it does insane damage with Pelagius. So I think it's a bug. It's like sometimes the damage is so high that you do like probably more than 1 million when you apply with the ultimate.
What?
And sometimes it does like 7k damage. So I try to think why that happens, because he applies Radiant Erosion with with the ultimate and with a passive, I think.
Yeah.
But I can't find why that happens. I think it's a bug, but I'm not sure. But he's really, really strong. He's very deceivingly strong for that fight.
Yeah. Interesting.
And yeah, people look at the damage charts and think, oh, Pelagius is like the worst of the team. He's really bad. I actually think he's probably the top 1 or top 2 damage. The score, the damage that contributes to the score.
Oh, I like that.
It's
yeah, because I managed
to
pick
very
up
deceiving.
Ivar and Pelagios in like the same weekend, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for Furious Torrent to come back. I can give it a go. And this is definitely something I would say for anyone. This is one of my tips for Codex in general. Is obviously the gearing is different. Not massively different, but I would say it is different to other places, you know. So and you know, so for example, you wouldn't use Sharpshooter Crest on an AoE hero in Furious Torrent, even though Sharpshooter Crest is usually the best artifact for AoE marksmen. And yeah, my tip is basically go look at how the top people are gearing their heroes to sort of see what stats and what equipment they're putting on it. And that's how I do it. I always click on your runs and go, how's he geared them? Let me see what I can do.
I kind of use, you're talking about Sharpshooter Crest, I kind of use on Pelagius, but it's kind of tricky, but you can use it.
Oh yeah. But if
Because
he's doing the boss damage, that would make sense, right?
Yes, and you can at some moments you can use the effect because there's no flying fish around him blocking the plus damage. So I use Nyx really close to him, so Nyx clears all the fishes, so he gets the bonus from Sharpshooter Crest. So
Yes.
it can work. It's kind of a little tricky, but it can work.
But yeah, because the other thing in his kit is he does that like vortex pull, and I'm guessing like getting that next to Nyx means that her AoE damage, if they're also then being like collected together, is also like a nice combination.
It helps sometimes, but most of the times you're trying to avoid hitting the fishes with the ultimate. You always trying to hit the boss with Pelagius.
Okay.
You want, there's two things. You want maybe to have many units in front of him, so he ults many spears, right? Because of his passive. When there's like 8 units in front of him, he'll always hit the boss. 5 enemies, right?
Yeah.
It's 5 enemies. So, or you want no enemy in front of him, or a lot. When you ult with Pelagius in that fight. So he will always hit the boss this way.
Interesting. Oh, I love these top tips.
And then you apply the Radiant Erosion doing insane damage. Talking about Pelagius, you always try to build him full attack. Because of you only doing real damage with the true damage. So you always want full attack on him. Because true damage only scales from attack.
Yeah.
So I try quad with attack percent and attack.
I mean, look at this. I mean, this gear is lovely. These are quad pieces. I recently did a gear cleanse and I was talking about quads, and I was like, you find them and then let alone having them roll as well as this. Like, these are lovely pieces.
Yes, it's hard. This one's not even ancient. The first one.
But that's how but that's grinding and playing the game and stuff. And
yes.
You've been playing for quite a long time. When did you actually start playing Watcher of Realms?
I started on day 3 of the game.
Oh wow!
Very early. Yes. I always liked strategy games in the past. Tower defense. I always liked tower defense when I played like Warcraft 3, like many years ago. They had many tower defense custom maps inside Warcraft 3. So I always liked the genre, the type of game, but I never found a good tower defense to play it. So when the game came out, I was gonna check this. Let's check this game. I thought the early game was insanely easy. I thought, no, this game is boring. It's easy. Then when I got through the game, and I noticed how deep the game is.
Yeah, I think I would agree, because particularly the end game content just gets harder and harder in a really fun way, I think. And
I agree.
Yeah, and I guess that, leads me on perfectly to my next question, which is, what kind of boss mechanics would you like to see in the future in Immortal Codex?
A new Codex boss, you mean?
Yeah, like if you were to design a Codex boss, what would it be like? What do you think's missing from the Codex bosses?
I see. I think the dev team actually thinks about that, right? When they made Codex bosses for each type of archetype in the game, I would say. So I think the one missing would be mages. I think there's no AoE platform heroes codex. So we have everything. I would say everything I can think of except AoE platform units.
Yes.
So like mages are the king for that, right?
Yeah, because you've got the frost one, but that's about applying debuffs. That's not about AoE magic damage. Oh, that would be cool, actually.
You also have Conqueror, but it's for ground units, right? Conqueror is like a AoE based content, but it's for ground units, not for platform units. Also, I really hate Conqueror because I don't have guns since forever. I can't compete.
I mean, seriously, you look at these teams and it is just gone predominantly. And if you don't have him, It doesn't work.
I think I'm around 50. I think I'm very close. I think I'm 50 something. I'm trying Valderon right now, but
yeah. But like, I mean,
it's really hard to compete again with that codex.
Yeah, I don't. I have Cerberus, but without a Chaotic Lord, he dies too quickly.
Yeah, Cerberus is the key part of this codex. Cerberus is like what difference a normal run to a great run is Cerberus.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah.
But
attack.
Talking about the codex, so I would say it's missing the like AoE for platform units, a codex for them, and I think their design is really good from the dev team, because like Furious Torrent, for example, there is like a lot of mechanics involved in the fight. There's like blue ball flying. If you kill that blue ball, you get like rage region, like 50% for entire team, right? That's so smart to make something like that, because you can control when you want to kill that small ball. So I think that's really clever design from the devs. I really like this small mechanics during the fight that you can kind of control it and squeeze more points. And for people that I'm really try-hard player, I kind of like this kind of stuff.
But it is that those tiny things. So like obviously when you go to Codex for the first time, it's like, okay, this one is, take Furious Torrent. It's like, okay, I just need AoE marksman to kill the fish and then to kill the tridents, and that's fine. But like you said, because of these like little tiny hidden gems, like the rage or the healing or the whatever it is, you can then start to like focus on it. I'm guessing like the amount of time you've probably put into it to sort of work out, well, when is the most optimal time to hit this one or do that, and like it's got to be quite cool, right, to figure that out.
Exactly, that's the fun part for me. I think optimizing the runs, I think it's really fun. I think that's why I'm kind of gets the high rankings, because the rewards aren't amazing, for this content, for getting the high rankings. So I think only a few people actually put a lot of work in this content, because I don't have the strongest account in the game, not even close. And I kind of get high rankings on, I think, 3 codexes, but I don't think it's. I think because I put the time on the fights, and I really enjoy it, because I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy figuring out like positions for the units and rotations. Like when we talking about the torrents, like killing when I want to kill that small ball, that small blue ball flying, to get the rage region I want in the right moment. So a lot of this stuff, I really think it's very fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But would you say that there are any mechanics that you would like to see changed or improved in the current Codex bosses that that you're fighting? So like you're talking about all these like mini mechanics. Are there any that you're like, oh, actually I wish it just did this slightly differently for the fight, or I wish that this was improved, or I don't like this mechanic? Is there anything like that you've noticed?
I think there's some very specific ones, like you talked about the tank codex. I think they should change the point system for that fight, because of the problem you point out in the beginning. I don't really like the point system. Like when you kill a minion, you get the points, right? When the minion dies, because he dies by himself, right? The minions want this fight, and I don't really like the point system for this fight. I dislike it because I don't feel like it's fair. The minion has to die to get the points, and like people get stuck at the same point range in their high rankings. That's very common. I think when the fight ends, they should like calculate based on the missing health of every minion on the field, then give them extra points. So yeah. The problem with the same point problem won't happen anymore. So I dislike the point system for this fight specifically because of that.
Yeah. Well, I managed to get that, top 50 score or whatever on this. I've not been able to replicate it, genuinely. And I'm like, I don't know. This fight has insane RNG as well because of the stuns. You have Reeve as well, so there's a lot of RNG based things that happen in that fight.
Because when you stun a minion on that fight, he may change the unit that he's blocking. So, like Reeve, like Aveline, I think it's
Yeah.
her name, the Centaur girl. And there's more units like Hearts, you can freeze, right? And Procure, all these units that freeze or stun, you can change the units he's blocking at the moment. So that brings a lot of RNG to the fight, to this fight specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I learned with this one that it's good to like cycle the ults, you know, left to right. So like Cyrus and Olag with then your middle two and then like your base two, so that it's like that kind of thing. Like I figured that out. I was like, okay, this is, you know, to try and like, you know, with like, because certain ones have like different block counts and stuff like that. So I figured that bit out. But yeah, I don't know how I got higher than that, but I just keep getting this score now, and I'm like, okay, fine, I've got to do something to change it. But
this fight is insanely RNG based as well because of the stuns and the block changes, right?
Oh yeah,
It's really hard. It's very common. When I got the last time when I had the highest score for this fight as well, I couldn't even get close to that score. I couldn't because of this stun mechanics.
Yeah.
One fun stuff about this thing. When you're trying, like, put on an auto right now. I will explain something very probably you don't know.
Yes, please. Oh my goodness, yes, please.
That's something I do, especially for this one. I do this a lot. When you're doing an auto of this fight, the stun RNG, I think it preserves in this auto run. Okay. So if you go to the engine on the top right corner of the fight and go restart, the RNG of the stuns at least will be the same. So what I would do is like, I have a really good RNG on these stuns right now. So I just keep repeating, go for the auto until like 90% of the fight, and I stop the auto in the end of the fight and manually control it on the very end of the fight when I can change something, you know?
So you basically, you put the heroes down, you effectively reset it till you get the good stun RNG, and then in this, you auto and restart, is that right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
I auto until some point, until I want, and I manually finish the fight like the way I want. I change a little bit the timings of the ultimates, and sometimes this makes I get a higher score because of that.
Oh, that's cool.
Fun stuff. If you go out of the fight, if you go to the engine and leave the fight, the quit battle. If you go for the quit battle, and start another auto, the RNG will be different.
So if I hit challenge again now, it'll be different RNG. So if I notice good RNG, I should just restart it in it to then try and boost my score. But if I notice bad RNG, I then hit challenge again. Is that right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's so
I
cool.
do that. For this codex is really good. For other codes, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's really good for other codexes. But for this one, is very, very good for this one.
Aww.
Because I think other types of RNG can change. Like Dolores, I think it won't work the same way. Like Dolores Rage Region, right? RNG.
Yeah.
So I think Dolores changes, so this won't work with Dolores, I think, okay? So, but for this one, I'm sure, because I did this a lot last time.
I also noticed you're one of the few people that doesn't use Aveline. And for those of you who don't know Aveline, she's an epic, but what makes her really interesting is the fact that, where is it? Where's her info? Here. Am I going blind? Yeah, here. She has this base block of 4 rather than 3, which means she gets like a extra block, which is why a lot of people use for this content. But I just noticed you don't use her. You use King Hearts instead. What is the reason for that?
So that's very funny, because last time when the tank codex came last time, I was the only one using King Hearts in the top like 5 players. Everyone was using Isolde as a lord because she can block 5 units, instead of hearts can only block 4, right?
Yeah.
So I was the only one using hearts. So the reason is because I had a hard time making my units survive the entire fight. So with hearts, I have less gear requirements, I would say, for my units to survive the entire fight. If I put Isolde as a lord in that team, I would need better gear in my tanks.
Yeah.
I can try. Actually, I want to try this until the end of this codex. I kind of want to try removing hearts, putting Isolde as a lord, and probably using Evelyn, because the new tank gear is better. The new 2 tanking sets are way better.
Yeah.
So I think I can probably upgrade my gear with the new tank gear and probably use Isolde. I will try this probably before the codex finishes.
That would be good. And do you have on your YouTube channel? Do you have guides on codexes? Have you done those for your viewers, for people to check
out? Yes, I do. Actually, that's a very good question, because it's one of the things I would say in this interview. There's a lot of high-ranking codex players that post their runs on YouTube, not only me, but there's some older people that post their runs, which is very good for you to, like, no commentary runs. You can just watch and see what the top players are doing and try to copy. Normally these videos don't have a lot of views, but they are there. And I post my codex runs also, but I do more commentary way in Portuguese. And I comment my runs, and usually in Portuguese I tell a lot of the secrets I do in the fight.
So basically, we just need a little translation, and then we'll get all the inside information.
Yes, a lot of Portuguese people actually can see what I'm doing. I explain like 95% of the things I do. I kind of explain. Sometimes I figure something out later. Of course, I can't edit the video, right? But I usually post every single run from the codex in my YouTube channel, and some things change over time, right? So I kind of need to update my older videos, like Styx. Right now, Styx is completely different from the last time I had a video, because with Yovar everything changed, with Helga everything changed. So I kind of need to update my old codex videos with this new tech that came out.
That's gonna be exciting. And for anyone interested, go check out Goha's channel. It's going to be linked in the description below, and go and watch the masterclass basically on Codex. So it's definitely well worth a watch, I'll tell you that. So yeah. Was there anything else that you can think of before we start to wrap things up? Because obviously I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I think we could chat about Codex all day, because I'm just fascinated by the mechanics of it.
There's a lot of stuff,
right, and stuff like that. But yeah, was there anything else that you any secret hot tips or nuggets of wisdom that you can impart?
I think I have one more thing I would say. That's something I always do. And for some codex, that I would say it's a good tip, is like preparing beforehand for the codex. It's like tank codex. I always, when tank codex got released, I started saving every single bastion ring in the game because I would need like 6 bastion rings for this fight. So I started doing that back there. It's like a it's a long process, right? Saving every single bastion ring, upgrading the bastion rings. So preparing beforehand is very important. Like the bastion rings for this codex, the tank gear, you need 6 tanks very well geared for this fight. So saving every single tank gear. Back in the day, there's only Guardian, right? Guardian set was really good, but now we have more.
I only got my first Guardian gear in March, having started in September. Like my first full HP bonus set. It took me months to get a ring that got HP bonus or something, and I was like, this is ridiculous. So funnily enough, I've got
really
more
hard
now. Fine, but my first set, it took me absolutely ages to get, because it is really tricky gear to get, and yeah, but it's pretty much mandatory for this fight. along with the bastion
Exactly.
ring. So
Yes. The tank gear is really hard to come by. Now I think it's a little easier with the new tank sets, but it's actually very hard to get. So saving every single guardian with HP bonus is awesome, and like rolling this gear with high substats is even harder. So saving this gear for this future of this codex is very important. The same goes for the healer codex, which requires a very specific healing gear, which HP bonus as well. You need a lot of HP.
Yeah, for the survivability, you've got to have the HP bonus main, but then if you've got an attack-based healer, you need those attack-based substats, and then obviously it's a lot of rage and speed as well. And
yes, it's very specific gear for this content.
Yeah, I definitely, for healer code, so like my tanks, I'm like, I would use the same gear on them as I would when I'm using them elsewhere, but healer codex is totally different gearing. I don't use it anywhere else but codex.
Yes, exactly. So annoying. But saving this gear for the healer codex is very important as well. It's not a codex I like a lot, but it's very important. The specific gear you need for the healer one. I think it's most for these two. The rest you will use basically DPS gear you would use in any character, right?
Yeah. It's things like what you said about Pelagio's, knowing that he's better to stack a huge amount of attack on versus other ones where you might want to, focus a bit more or spread it about with, quick damage or speed or whatever else the other stats are that you're looking for. But knowing, Pelagio's is going to be great in all attack, whether he's in Codex or whether he's in GVG or whether he's in, Gear Raid or whatever it is that you're using him in. So, yeah, it seems that gear is slightly more across the board.
Exactly. Can I give you one more fast tip?
Yes, please. I'll take them all. I'll take every tip that you've got. I'm gonna be redoing this Codex because I think this could be the first time I get triple S on all three. Apart from, I'm not sure about Conqueror because I don't have the heroes. But now that I have the Furious Torrentine, I'm definitely gonna do whatever I can to try and push that to triple S. Because I feel like I should be able to get to triple S. Maybe just scrape it in.
I'm sure you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yes, what's the tip? What's the tip?
I think maybe you do this already, but every time I do a codex, I save every single gear slot, gear set. When I get the high score, I save for every single unit.
Yeah.
So, like Furious Torrent, my gear, I did my highest score ever. So I go there and I save the 5 or 6 units. I usually don't save Dolores because it's pretty standard gear for her. It's like always the same for inspiration units.
Yeah.
It's like I use this everywhere with Dolores, so I don't need to save her. But the other 5 units, I always save in the gear plan. I always save for every single codex. I save the gear I'm using.
That is a very good
So that's very important to do it because you get like you don't need to remember which gear you use it for each character. That's insanely hard. So
Yeah.
I save for every single one which gear I use it to get my highest score ever.
And the worst part I find is, and this is what scuppered me on my tank codex, is I did a huge gear cleanse after doing that. And when I went back thinking, oh, well, the leaderboard will show the gear that I used at the time, it doesn't. It shows the gear that is currently on those heroes, which,
Yes,
Moonton, by
it
the way,
updates.
could you please, if someone makes it to the leaderboard, could you just let it be what they used rather than what they currently are wearing? Because
That would be awesome.
that'd be good, because I literally went back and I went, oh my goodness, I'm not getting the same points. Who have I geared wrong, basically? And realised that I couldn't see what I'd done, and I was like, oh, I should have saved the gear. So definitely learn from my mistake, everyone, and this top tip, definitely save those gear sets for your Immortal Codex, 100%.
That's really important. I would be crazy if I didn't save. Trying to remember, I would be able to reach the same scores if I didn't save.
Yeah. No. But brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming to the channel and for chatting. It's been absolutely amazing to talk to you and get these, little bits of wisdom and everything else like that. And like I said, everyone, please do go check him out in his channel below. And yeah, just thank you so much for coming on the channel. I really, really do appreciate it, Goha. So thank you.
Thank you as well as Late for having me. It was an honor to be on a video with you. It was amazing. It was very fun to talk about this. It's a content I really like, so it was really fun to talk about it.
Brilliant. Well, that is going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching. Do let us know in the comments below what your favorite Immortal Codex is and which one is your least, or any other things that you've figured out about Codex. But that is going to wrap things up. I will see you guys in the next video and the next live stream. But until then, take care and bye for now.